It's the new season and I'm going to be walking to every Premier League club in London on Don Robbie's football march to raise awareness and money for Prostate Cancer UK. I'm going on the ultimate scouting mission to find out what our London rivals have got in store this season. I'll be giving my passion a football purpose by supporting one of my favourite charities, Prostate Cancer UK. Did you know that prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men? 1 in 4 black men will get prostate cancer, and that's double the risk of white men. Don Robbie's Football March is about raising funds to find better tests and treatments to save men's lives. So how can you help? Keep an eye out for the updates, share my stories about my challenge, and sponsor me to help me save men's lives. Search Don Robbie's Football March on Just Giving or check out the links in my bio. I can't wait.
Well, it's been a little while, but we're back with talking transfers. I think we have things to talk about. We'll try. Listen, don't run away, everyone. There is stuff to talk about. Martin Zubimendi, could he be moving to Liverpool? Why didn't he move to us? And could it affect the Merino deal? We're going to chat about that, including Aaron Ramsdale, not getting minutes in pre-season, but he's not going anywhere either. Tommy Setford, but giving him the number 36. Is he the new number 3? What is going to happen in the forward line with Gyökeres, Osimhen, and their supposed moves to other clubs still not really materialising? And there's only 3 weeks to go, with most Premier League clubs not doing a lot. How I pull down intro from no transfer news. I deserve some love.
You've done well.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And welcome, Curtis. Good to see you again after 10 days of the on tour. Laurie, welcome back. Good to see you again. And of course, Turkish, how are we all doing, people? Curtis, you good?
Yeah, I'm just hiding my phone because Mikel's got pickpocketers lurking on it. You know what I mean? I want to make sure I go home with it. So.
If you haven't all seen it, I think it was in The Athletic. Mikel Arteta, I think at a dinner or something, was it?
Yeah.
He had professional pickpockets.
I want to know where he sourced those from.
Well, I don't know.
How do you go out and source a team of pickpockets?
He was nicking things off the players as a message to say, you know, basically stay alert at all times. We're winning the league, aren't we, Turkish? I mean, that's the only conclusion I can
Well, if that, what is it, magician or whatever, pickpocket is going to bang in 20 for us in the league, then I'm sure we will. What's his name?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's starting a fine.
Could I just clarify? So what is the motivation behind this, do you think?
I think the idea is like, always be alert, always be aware. I don't know. Listen, Arteta knows.
Or maybe, I was thinking, maybe there's a serious side to it. Maybe he's like, maybe it's happened before to 1 or 2 players. And the message is, you've got to be alert because there is a security risk. I mean, there's a lot of information in these players' phones. If it gets into the wrong hands, there could be a lot of information there that could either embarrass the club or the player or both.
I feel like that'd be worse if that was. Yeah, I'd rather it was just a bit of fun. To send a message rather than guys.
Maybe it was.
We're really dealing with the leaks now. We don't want anything out there. We're going to make sure you've got your phones on lock. But look, listen, Arteta. It's not the first time he's done some interesting sort of things to try and keep the, I don't know, just to get a message across to the team. From my perspective, I just find it quite funny. Of course, people will mock and ridicule, have their fun with it. Is what it is. Arteta,
you know what I was thinking? And I did say this to you guys off camera, is that it's one of those things that if we go on and win the league, people will be writing books in years to come and say, like, he's the mad professor, come out with all these off-the-ball ways of thinking.
On that, though, just now I was in my car and TalkSport was on. Not often I listen to them, but it was on. And there was like, is Arteta the David Brent of managers, yeah? And I get that on one hand, yeah, but does Arteta actually get the respect he deserves as well? And this is coming from someone who doubted him a lot. And before people say he hasn't won nothing and all that yet, what I just mean is if Pep Guardiola was in Germany with Bayern and Arteta did this with a Dortmund, went close a couple of times, pushed him 90 plus points and whatever, a lot of English clubs would be looking over saying, hey, that might be the next one up. But it feels like because he's at Arsenal, and obviously our fan base, I get it, online they annoy me a lot, let alone opposition fans, but it just feels like he doesn't, because he finished above Klopp twice, and again, it's not success. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the man in like what we all expected, me included. Finished above Klopp twice within his first 4 years of management.
I actually totally agree.
Do you get what I'm saying? If we're outside looking in, it looks a bit. A lot of teams would want him.
I think you would say with Dortmund, like we know Dortmund financially are nowhere near Bayern. So I think even competing with Bayern for them is kind of
But it's the same with us and Man City, though.
But I reckon if you looked at what he's spent since he's been here, I bet Man City's is very similar.
Yeah,
the amount
but
of money.
But then the argument is that obviously he comes in to build off nothing, whereas Pep built off a title
stronger team.
winning
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, I
that,
get
you
It's a
know,
very
I
different
get it.
platform. Very different platform. I think you're right, and I've always thought that the disrespect's there, not just because of kind of what he has achieved without it obviously being the ultimate success and all that. I often think the things he has done right, where it has been a little bit more mad professor, and people haven't given him the credit. So, okay, I guess tactics isn't a mad professor thing, but the Zinchenko left back thing, people always go, yeah, but Guardiola was inverting fullbacks before that. It's like, yeah, but Arteta came and what he did with Zinchenko at left back, he pushed that even further. Like, he wasn't just tucking your fullbacks. He was like, you're literally our central midfielder from left back. Then he moved on to the centre backs at fullback thing. Now Guardiola's doing it, everyone kind of sees it as Arteta copying Pep, but it was Liverpool at home, Salah on the right wing, and Tomiyasu was shoved out there as kind of the first time I saw, at least in the last 5 years, a manager of a team that had lots of possession sort of adopt that kind of approach. So there are certain things where I agree with you, like he doesn't really get the respect he deserves for the somewhat, I know they're built off other ideas and maybe other Pep ideas, but the somewhat innovative things he has done, I don't think he's often got the credit for that either, to be honest.
Yeah, people are knocking for the Pep thing, but again, it's because it's Arsenal, really. Because if it's La Liga we're watching it in, if it's Bundesliga, if it's Serie A where Pep Guardiola is managing the side at the top, and then the next managers of his ilk learned under him, playing similar football but challenging for 2 years, it's a shock as well. Let's not forget, it wasn't 2 years ago, people weren't expecting Arsenal to be challenging for anything, you know, in terms of what we was doing in the window with the Ben Whites and me included. So I just think it's,
I think the whole Arteta thing. He's clearly one of those very meticulous, sort of fastidious, attention to detail freak type managers that analyses every detail, and his approach to football is, you know, you can imagine that he thinks about the game 24/7. It must be a nightmare to live with. And these ideas that he comes up with, they just come from left field. And as I said before, if we go on and win the title, people say, yeah, this guy, he's a bit crazy, but, you know, he's a real deal. If we don't, on the other hand, then there's the tendency to ridicule.
That Liverpool you'll never walk alone thing. If it was me there, I'd be like, what the hell is this? But if Robbie comes out that door now and says, check your pockets and I've lost my wallet and stuff, and then some guy comes and robbed me during this transfer show, I'd be like, motherfucker, like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? So that would be they're not learning nothing off that. They're not going to be on the pitch thinking about their phone in their pocket. It's just more of a fun activity that I guess bridges that gap between manager and player, because sometimes you have to show them he's young as well, but there's a balance.
Well, I think it might have been James McNicholas, aka Gunner Blog, who said this podcast on the Athletic, I can't remember, but like managers they're the ones delivering the message all the time. Like, it's always them, pre-match, post-match, training, whatever. Now, yes, there's other coaches that take certain areas. We got to see an open training session. Arteta was quite far from it, wasn't he? He was there watching, but he wasn't sort of one-to-one with the players as much. So, of course, there's other voices via the coaching. But look at, like, from the All or Nothing documentary when it was Stuart MacFarlane who did the pre-match for the Tottenham game. I think the point Gunner Blog was making was, you've got to find different ways to get the message across, because this is now his 5th full season. Like, as much as we're talking about, well, now's the year, you've got to do it, he's probably thinking that himself. And the players are probably, like, very accustomed to this voice now. So there are other ways you've got to get the message across and sort of get different ideas to your players and kind of keep them on their toes all the time, because it can, dare I say, go stale even before you've even won anything. So maybe that kind of explains it a little bit. But, I mean, look at Tottenham and Pochettino. Like, we hate to say it, but they did get fairly close. You know, they pushed some teams quite far. They got some semi-finals, finals, but they never got over the line before it got stale, and ultimately the ideas run out. So maybe that's part of it as well, just kind of keeping things always, I don't know, fresh and different and somewhat.
It's definitely different.
It's definitely different. But Robbie, if you're watching, we don't really want this experiment on us, please. I
don't mind that.
You know,
it'd be interesting to see if we catch them out, innit?
Well, let's Nick touch his laptop. See what happens.
You can imagine there'll be quite a few jokes going around this season about that.
Yeah.
The meme's already been prepared.
If it doesn't work out, people will be
the meme's already been prepared, trust me.
Yeah.
But hey, watch this space.
Right, let's go to the main talking point of the day. And Fabrizio Romano.
I thought that was it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. For tuning in, people. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next week on In Focus. So Fabrizio Romano came in about an hour and a half ago with this update that Zubimendi has been called up for Real Sociedad's next game, while Liverpool are trying to convince him to join. Mikel Merino has not been called up as Arsenal talks are still ongoing, advanced, he says, but with deal structure and payment terms to clarify. So that's kind of the first we've heard from any sort of respectable journal in terms of like a big update, sort of even just to let us know, like, no, talks are still ongoing. But the Arsenal fan base, I think it's fair to say, were pretty, is rattled fair? Concerned, let's put it nicely, about Liverpool's move for Zubimendi, Curtis. Were you concerned by it yesterday and the developments across yesterday?
I wasn't really, because I still feel that Sociedad would probably still let Merino go. He's got a year left, hasn't signed a contract. I don't think they're a club that could turn down 30 million and just let the contract run down. I think my first sort of thought was, when we were linked with Zubimendi, a lot of the reports were he doesn't want to leave Spain. He said quite openly, I'm staying at Sociedad. Then Liverpool come in for him and the reports are he's accepted it verbally. So my first thought was kind of, why is he going to Liverpool but wasn't willing to go to Arsenal? Was it the lack of trophies? Was it the manager? You're just thinking, what kind of changed his mind? And then the other thing, you're thinking, they're talking about this Zubimendi deal could happen quickly, and you're thinking, well, we was in America and they were saying, yeah, Merino's advanced. We're thinking by the time we land, this guy's going to be in an Arsenal shirt. So you're just wondering, sometimes Arsenal, the deal takes so long, the excitement kind of fizzles out of it. And I kind of look at this Merino deal and think, it looks quite straightforward. He's on 50 grand a week. He's got a year left. There's a price they want. I just wonder, are they looking at other midfielders still? And he's kind of the backup option, because why would the deal not be done yet? I just can't. Unless we have to sell somebody, I don't know. That could be the other explanation.
Smith Rowe just left. How many do we have to sell?
Yeah,
before we can add to midfield? But it's a fair point. Laurie, you echo a lot of that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I am kind of curious though, because you would imagine that Sociedad won't want to let both of those guys go. So there is a potential knock-on effect if Liverpool do get Zubimendi. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. That's all I can really say, really. I mean,
fair enough. You know, on the whole, does it affect one another? I've got no doubt that Sociedad will, they're far less happy to let Merino go if Zubimendi's gone. That's just obvious. But one's a release clause of around 52 million. The other's got a year left on his contract. I dare say they don't have that much say in it. I mean, apart from trying to convince the players to stay, that's a lot of money to turn down that actually clubs can pull together quite simply. You activate the release clause, Zubimendi wants to go, well, that's done. Nothing Sociedad can do. Everything we keep hearing is that Merino's got a verbal agreement with Arsenal, and that's kind of all. It's just about the, as Romano was just saying, the terms, the structure, all that. Well, then, what are Sociedad going to go? Actually, sorry, no thanks. It's like, well, this is like a good asset that's going to go for nothing next year. So I don't know. Do they really impact one another?
could Zubimendi be thinking that, well, although I turned down, or allegedly turned down a move before because you want to stay, he's thinking, well, perhaps if things are changing there and they're letting players go, or entertaining letting players go, he might be thinking, well, actually, you know what, maybe it is time to go after all.
Well, Lenormand just went to Atletico, that's a Sociedad centre-back. If Zubimendi's going, that probably only pushes Merino even more, or vice versa. Maybe Zubimendi's like, well, Merino and Lenormand are going, so maybe he wants the move. Turkish, your thoughts on it? Does it affect one another? Do Arsenal enter the Zubimendi race? Apparently we really wanted it.
It can affect, I agree with you, but it can affect it in terms of if Zubimendi goes Liverpool, Sociedad might think to themselves, listen, a year left, we probably can't get better right now because there's only a couple of weeks left of the window. We would do better with him than without him later. But we're doing the same with Partey in a way. Yeah. So there could be, but I think they'll take the money either way. I think even if they sell Zubimendi, we've struck our deal. Like Romano said, he hasn't mentioned any personal terms. He hasn't mentioned a fee to be agreed. So that insinuates the fee's agreed, the personal terms are agreed. It's just how we pay that fee. Now that interests me more because if the haggling is because really we're saving some money for attacking signing coming in the next couple of weeks, and I can understand. I can look back and understand this more, but I am with Curtis as well. You're thinking like, just get it done. It's not an experienced player. 1 year to go, decent fee, wages calm. If you want him, just go get him.
Yeah, I think you raised a good point there. Like his exact words for Richie Romano, and by the way, that doesn't mean for Richie Romano it's everything spot on, but let's give him the credit. And you've got the Calafiori and all the update stuff, very accurately and kept us up to date with all that. And on Merino, he's saying it's advanced. It's just deal structure, payment terms. Like, I agree, that suggests that they're in and around the ballpark. Then we were saying out in Philadelphia, weren't we, that with transfers, I imagine one of the quicker things to establish is how much are you willing to pay, how much are you willing to accept. I imagine that, and obviously I have no idea, but I would think it doesn't take that long to establish what a club can get to and what they want to do. But saying we'll pay 60 million for a player is very different when it's 20 million plus add-ons, when it's, we want 50 million of the release clause up front. And it's all these things, because that will actually dictate more what the club can do in the here and now to go and achieve that fee. So with Merino, I think those are the details they're ironing out, but it has gone quite quiet, it has slowed down quite a lot. I think my next question to everyone is, if Zubimendi is on the market, which we thought he wasn't, and look, maybe he's got his heart set on Liverpool and that gets done, but would you want Arsenal to actually try and go for him instead of Merino?
I'll tell you what I would say about that. My answer to that would be, I want to prioritise bringing in a forward or a striker.
That wasn't the option.
Yeah, I know.
Appreciate that, Laurie. Thank you. I too would like Victor Osimhen.
But my point is that I think, listen, we may well have, we're linked with Gyökeres and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but I am slightly disappointed that it's not a striker or a forward we're talking about, and it's midfielders. I guess that's my point.
I think Zubimendi is a better, or from what I've seen, yeah, which is a fair bit actually over the last couple of years. But Zubimendi is a better, because they're different, right? Zubimendi is more a 6, Merino a D8. I think Zubimendi is a better 6 than Merino is an 8. But I think Rice is a better 6 than he is an 8. Yeah. So
sure,
Merino makes more sense, because I'd rather a more technically proficient player in the 8 and a destroyer like Rice in the 6 than a technically proficient 6 and our destroyer having to be in the attacking third. Yeah,
technically proficient. Who's this?
Yeah, your long words are rubbing off, man.
I've been uni, What are you on? I've got a degree.
I'll see you on Tactical Insight.
Yeah, man, bring him over to that. For me, I know. Again, I'm going off topic. I was excited by the Fabian Ruiz link.
Yeah,
I know he was in America, but they were talking about him because I just think he has them qualities. Yeah. But for me, Zubimendi, I have this thing now of when a player's not keen on joining us, I kind of don't want him to sign for us, and I've got this impression in my mind that Zubimendi kind of kept palming us off, and all of a sudden you're twerking for Liverpool. So I'm like, let him go Liverpool.
I don't think he is though, because he wouldn't be in the lineup today if he was.
Right,
that's true.
Or whatever, a lot of reports. What is it? Lineup squad?
Yeah, well, he's available to play in Sociedad's friendly. So firstly, they're saying that it's like an injury, or there's something that's keeping Merino out of the squad. I respectfully don't really buy that, because I don't know. You're fine throughout the whole Euros. You win it, you come back. Or I've not trained the last 2 days. I can't make the friendly. Or maybe
we've seen this.
It's very
before,
possible. Calafiori is too tired to play, so we have seen that things impact it. But I'm not too much of a coincidence there. Now the latest on Zubimendi is that apparently, like, Liverpool have moved ahead in everything they can move ahead with. Yeah, we're willing to play a release clause, we want the player, we've sounded him out, he's interested. But he hasn't said yes yet. Now, apparently, Zubimendi has been really wrestling with the move to potentially Barcelona, to potentially Arsenal, all these clubs interested. So I don't think it's as done and dusted that he actually does end up at Liverpool. So that's going to be an interesting development. Does it kind of slow down the Merino deal? We'll see. I don't think it impacts it so much in terms of us signing Merino, but it might sort of delay a little bit. The only other thing I was going to say is, in terms of which is better for Arsenal, I just think we need a Merino more than we need a Zubimendi. I think in Rice, Partey, Jorginho, we're perfectly covered for what Zubimendi would add to this team. With Merino, I think he comes in as a very unique player, being an actual central midfielder who does a bit of everything. I know Ødegaard's evolved into that from the 10 position. I know Rice has evolved into that from the 6 position. But Merino, all his career, from what I've seen anyway, is just I'll contribute in that third, I'll contribute in that third, and I'll do some things in the middle here. And like, we haven't had a specialist midfielder who can do that. So I think he'll add serious balance to our team either way.
Yeah, that's how I see it. We need an 8. We still haven't replaced Xhaka essentially, because the 8 we brought in is a better 9.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Zubimendi he looks quality, and maybe next year we'll rue not getting him this year because Partey and Jorginho's contracts are ending. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Zubimendi would be the great a great pick for a rotation option with Rice for the 6, because you get 2 completely different worlds.
Yeah.
But now, I can't think of next summer when we need to win the league this year. So what do we need? 8? If it's Merino, get Merino in. But that, I lean back on what you said, and then what you said. Straightforward for me, get it in and move on and get the 1 in now. Who the 1 is, I don't know, but we need someone in attack.
Yeah, let's see what happens. We've got some super chats that we'll get to in a sec, but just to quickly round off on the whole Merino and Zubimendi stuff. Curtis, do they both get their moves to Liverpool and Arsenal, Merino and Zubimendi?
Yeah, I think they'll both go.
I think they'll both go.
Yeah.
Laurie?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Although, like I said, fans of Sociedad will be somewhat alarmed to see 2 of the heavy hitters possibly going at the same time. So there might be a bit push and pull there. But yeah, it's starting to look like it could happen.
Well, it's remembering that Erdegaard actually played with Merino back at Sociedad. But do you think they both happen?
Merino, yes. Not sure about Zubimendi.
I'm 50-50 on Zubimendi. I've got to be honest. I'm not 100% sure he goes to Liverpool. But let's see if they do. I think they're getting a good player. Also, the super chat says, when you're a doctoral professor, here we go. When you're a doctoral professor, you get the credit for your pupils' innovation and success. Arteta will get credit if someone like Carlos Cuesta goes on and has success at another club as head coach. What do you think of that?
Well, what's his point?
I think he's saying that what Arteta does well, Pep gets credit for. So if Carlos Cuesta wants to do well, Arteta will get credit for
He's
it.
developing
We'll
great
win the league
minds.
and you get credit.
That's
man.
it.
Do you know what?
Win the trophies,
win the
man.
league.
I
and you get credit.
think he makes a
get his
point.
point,
I think he
but-
makes a point, but yeah, you win the league, you'll get a
We
lot of
didn't
credit.
judge like Sir Alex Ferguson on what Steve McLaren did as manager, did we? We judged him off the trophies he won himself.
It's common theme. Winners always get to write the narrative. If he wins a title, he'll be seen as that genius, and everybody else under him is benefiting from this so-called expansive knowledge and innovation and quirky ideas.
I do think there have been a lot of coaches that, I'm not saying they're not very talented coaches, Arteta's one of them, but a lot of coaches that have managed or coached under Pep Guardiola, therefore there's that kind of excitement or that like expectation around them that because they were a former Pep Guardiola, whether it be Maresca, whether it be Ten Hag, whether it be Arteta, whether it be Xabi Alonso, whether it be Xavi. And look, a lot of them actually don't do really good things. Alonso and Xavi are league winners. Ten Hag, built a great Ajax side and obviously has won 2 trophies at Man United. Arteta's done great work at Arsenal. But there is something about that Guardiola seal of approval, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, you've worked with this guy, so you're rated quite highly. Eric, is this Eric? Eric, are you the Eric that Cecil once called Eric? Were you there?
Yeah, it must be. I wasn't there, man.
Yeah. Called him Eric. We're like, just Eric, man.
Just Eric.
He says, honestly, Zinchenko can cover the left 8 when Rice plays 6. Otherwise, why keep Jorginho and Partey and get another 8? James, please do a tactical show on the 11 games we dropped points and the prospects of losing only 2. I don't quite know what you mean by that last bit, but we probably will look back at what to improve on from last season for this season. But Zinchenko, left 8 people.
I do think there's a discussion about him playing in midfield. Not necessarily, I don't know about the 8, but...
I've lost my love for that idea,
Listen, I just look at him and I think, even last night's game, on the ball, I thought he was brilliant. Again, them little threaded passes, the goal. But Frimpong got him one-on-one 3 times and skinned him. And I look at him and I think, if Zinchenko's at left back in the Arsenal team and you're playing one of the big sides, I think you're targeting him straight away. I think you're viewing him as a weakness where he is a natural midfielder and we've never actually seen him start in midfield for Arsenal. So it's something I'd like to see. I'm not saying he should start there, but I wonder why we've never actually started him in a midfield role.
And it's just following on from that theme. I remember when he came to Arsenal and some of the City players, obviously come from City, and they were talking about him. And I remember, I think it was Kyle Walker was saying that And it surprised me at the time, and he said that Zinchenko is amongst the most technically gifted players at City, and he was including the likes of De Bruyne and one or two others when he was talking about him. So, and I have seen at Arsenal, as Curtis said, he can play some delightful through balls. He's very technically accomplished, good on the ball, but his defending at times does leave a lot to be desired. And I would also add to that that it's no coincidence if you notice, and I've seen this pattern a few times now, when teams play Arsenal and Zinchenko's in the side, it's almost like they target that side and say, right, we acknowledge that as a potential weakness of Arsenal. We attack that side, Zinchenko might not be able to live with him. You saw that when we played Liverpool, Salah left him for dead. We saw it with Frimpong yesterday.
It's not almost like
we commented on Watchalong, didn't we? We said Frimpong seemed to relish playing against him almost.
Is that why midfield maybe makes it more sense?
Yes,
then?
yeah, it
Because
does.
you get him into those areas on the ball, and then you. Fair enough.
No, people are just losing it with that. When you're working into space as an extra midfielder, you've got the space to work into. You see it coming. When you're the 1 of 3 in midfield, you ain't got that same space. And he's not a great passer. He's not, because how many times last season are we frustrated at him giving away the ball in key areas? He's not strong enough. He's not combative enough to be the 8. That's my honest opinion. Yeah, he looks good there from left back, but like Stones looks good when he steps into midfield. You're not going to just starting him in midfield.
It could be one of those that
Stepping
you put
into
him in that
something is
position when we're playing, dare I say it, the somewhat lesser teams. So maybe the cup
If we
competitions
think we're going to
and stuff
close
like
2
that.
points on City by putting Zinchenko in the 8.
No, I made the
we've
distinction
lost it.
that when we're playing the so-called lesser teams in the cup
The lesser
competitions,
teams are the ones that knocked us out cup competitions and the ones that cost us in the league.
So you say he's not a great passer. I think we've had this debate before. Like, where I disagree is I think he can be a bit
Hit and miss.
He can be a bit erratic, but I don't think there's very few passes I don't think he can pull off. Like, I think he's got the technical quality to make most things happen, to thread through the eye of a needle, to find that player in the pocket.
With space, yeah, but without the space, can
Maybe.
he? Under pressure, can he? When we've seen him crowded in the left back or in between the left back and central midfield area in transition,
I get what you
and
mean.
he loses it, he doesn't. He hasn't got
He plays
the strength, the
midfield
capacity.
for Ukraine, doesn't he? And you've got to look at it and say as well that
What have
when it
Ukraine
comes,
done?
no, but the point I'm making is, with defending, it's almost like an art of defending. You have that kind of natural instincts to defend that Zinchenko doesn't have, in my opinion, and that's why he can be sometimes susceptible to be.
Look, 2 years ago, I had a bet with Robbie that he was going to play more in midfield than he was at left back. And do you know my sole reason was because I thought Kieran Tierney was less droppable than Granit Xhaka. I was very wrong, kind of horribly wrong. 2 years on, the way the team's gone and understanding more of what Arteta wants to do, I don't really want to see Zinchenko anywhere near midfield. I think, when we see Havertz in midfield, I think whatever we think of what he does on the ball, unless for actually the last 2 games against Liverpool Leverkusen, he's done a lot on the ball to really like. But Arteta does like physicality in there. Even Jorginho, who's 5'10", not the quickest, can't say he doesn't put himself about like he does. And I do think Arteta does want that intelligence of understanding a position, tactical understanding, but also just a bit of physicality, put yourself about. Martin Odegaard runs more than any other player as well. And I just think that's why I think it's going to be players like Havertz will get minutes in midfield before Zinchenko does.
He's a bit of a loose cannon from left back, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can't put a loose cannon in midfield.
He's a bit unpredictable. He'll do a bit of everything.
I think as well with Calafiori coming in, I don't see him getting too many opportunities at left back. Once Calafiori's up and running, I don't see too many options for Zinchenko.
My thing with Zinni has always been I think playing at left back, stepping into midfield, you've always got that worry that if this attack breaks down, I've got to run back 20 yards and don't go and mark a right winger that's running at me. Where I think if he was in midfield, you don't have that responsibility I get what you're saying, his passing is a bit hit and miss, but I do think when it works, his passing is probably, I'm thinking really outside of Martin Odegaard, I'd say he's almost one of the best passers at the club, if I'm being honest. Zinni, yeah. When it actually works, he gambles as well. He will try and play that through ball or try and clip it over the top. Listen, I get you. I don't look at him and think you're going to make the difference in midfield, but I think he could be an option if we were.
I think he'll play more football than we expect this season, purely because when the inverted thing does work, it's a good weapon for us. And it felt 2 years ago like, man, no one has an answer to this, except for City. But like, no one has really an answer for Zinchenko inverting and giving us that like that zip through the lines, that sort of cheat code, that 4-man midfield, that box midfield, people in the pockets. Felt last season it got a little bit more found out, and teams had a plan. But now Arsenal do so many different things. In yesterday's game, like I was watching, we were on the watch along, and I was trying to spot like, what are we doing in build up? And like at times it was like 3 defenders with 3 in front. Sometimes it was just Zinchenko on his own dropping in. Sometimes Zinchenko was on the touchline, and Arsenal doing so many different things. That reality is like, I don't think we're just going to be a team that just plays with Zinchenko inverts, and that's how we're going to look for most of the season. I think we'll have
it's fairly obvious now that the manager likes players that are versatile, that can do more than one thing. And I think Zinchenko, whatever you want to say about his shortcomings, he's capable of playing in both those positions. So, by definition, the manager is going to include him.
So, on that then, just to bring it back to transfers very quickly, he's got a new number. Playing a lot in pre-season. Zinni's not going anywhere.
Nah.
He's also apparently offered to reimburse the shirts for like, people who bought his shirt with 35. So like, look, all the signs like he's not going anywhere. Right, fine. Kiwior, do we think he goes for the end of the window?
Sure. I think if we get a decent offer for him, we should.
What's
take
decent
it.
offer? That's an interesting question.
How much have we paid for him? Just remind
We
me.
paid 22, I think.
Anyway.
I reckon if we
18
get
to 22, something like that.
if we get approaching that and a bit more, take it.
I think if we get 25.
Yeah.
That'd be decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get that, he'll go. It's interesting because he's highly rated. He's joined, and we haven't really seen him at centre back.
Yeah.
No, I don't rate
left centre
Kiwior that highly, but it's because I'm judging him as a left back.
You told me you didn't rate him at all.
No, but at centre back we've hardly seen him. So I
And left
genuinely,
centre back.
No, I'm playing you.
You know what I mean?
It is.
I agree. We've barely seen him.
we've hardly seen him, so I really don't. But I think the Italian clubs rate him, don't they? So if we get a good offer,
Yeah.
I think he'll go.
Does Lewis Skelly's emergence make the potential sale of a Kiwior just even more necessary?
Yeah, to be honest, we could have brought Lewis Skelly up in the Zinchenko talk as well. I can't lie to you, because Lewis Skelly, he does look good, and he looks like that mould of, he's a midfielder though.
Mm-hmm.
But Arteta, like Robbie said, he likes to do these things. But yeah, I'd say so. Let's not forget he's 17, but with Calafiori, with Timber, with Zinchenko, with Tomiyasu when he comes up, we've got 4 senior players well capable of playing left back, let alone Lewis Skelly come. So yeah, Kiwior, it's over and out now, man.
And left centre back, because if you're saying, Kiwior's place in the squad is the backup to Gabriel.
Calafiori.
Okay, well, you got okay. So let's pretend Kiwior's not in the squad. Gabriel isn't available. We can shift Saliba along. You can put Calafiori in there. You've still got White, Timber, Tomiyasu, are all centre backs as well. So I feel like Arsenal won't force Matt if 25 million comes in.
And I think if you're Kiwior as well, you're not playing much football. He's a Polish international. Got the World Cup coming up in a couple of years'
But for
time.
me,
you need to be playing football.
We've got to do it. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not about if an offer comes up like for Reece and Kiwior and Eddie. Like, I'm gonna flip.
No. For Eddie and Reece, I agree, but not for Kiwior.
For him as well, because I don't want come May, we are wondering why we didn't do what we need to do, and we've got passengers. Because really and truly, we know we just went through the centre backs and the left backs. Kiwior ain't gonna get much minutes.
No.
So let's just, if money is tight for everyone and us included, let's at least try and do what we can, because this season is a massive one for us now. Massive one for Mikel, the team, us fans, everyone around Arsenal. Because
I think we've got to be honest, right? We've got to be honest and say that Kiwior, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for all of us, has not had the impact that we thought he might have when we first started
no one
hearing
thought
about
he might
it.
have an impact.
I don't think we thought his impact was going to be that great anyway, to be
I
honest.
respectfully disagree, because he came in, I remember it was announced just one random day. I was on my way in, it's like Arsenal signed Kiwior. I was like, who? And then I didn't really think much of it. I thought maybe an academy prospect, 22 million. I thought, what? Clearly rate this guy.
Yeah.
And then he did really well, because Rob Holding had a shocker in the title run-in. Kiwior came and actually settled things, albeit we then lost to Forest and Brighton. But, he did all right when he came in at right centre-back. He's a left centre-back. And then in the run-in last year, well, not the run-in, call it February to April, when all our left-backs were injured, he had to deputise out there. It was when we went on our best run as a team. So I think
No,
Kiwior's
what I'm
more
saying
than
is,
done
when
his-
he first comes to, correct me if I'm wrong, Curtis, you back me up on this. Wasn't the narrative that this was
I don't
big,
know.
physical, really quick guy?
Oh yeah,
We was hearing that,
I
right?
heard he was smashing treadmills.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I-
So he came to the club with a certain reputation that made us think, wow, this guy could be, we may have unearthed something really
I think from a
special.
Not hype
football
like that.
point of view,
Yeah.
we didn't know a lot about him, and
No.
I just saw him as a Gabriel backup really when we signed him.
Yeah, that was it.
I didn't-
Gabriel backup. That's what he did. And to be honest, he had a good 3 months last year playing left back. Probably was the best left back we had last year.
Yeah, in terms of if you look at the form they all put
Got exposed
together
near
over
the
year.
end, but
Yeah, Kiwior's probably put the best form together of any we had. But yeah, all right. Interesting on Kiwior. Speaking of left backs, the super chat's just come in. Don't know how true this is, but this is interesting. BC says the Merino delay is that Sociedad want Tierney included in the deal. Of course, Tierney was on loan there.
so what's the delay? You just yes that.
Give it a thumbs up.
It's very unlikely that Tierney's coming back to Arsenal at this point.
But he wasn't in the.
He wasn't even in the squad, was he, in the programme?
He's not officially in the program.
I think the problem you would have straight away is
That's
he's-
quite big, you
He's
know.
on 100 grand a week. I don't know
Like-
if Sociedad are paying 100 grand a week for a left back unless he takes a big pay cut.
But like Arsenal literally just went, you're not in the squad anymore. Like that's kind of crazy for a player who you can't question his professionalism. You actually can't really question his quality. He's just not the fit we
How long have you
need.
got left? We signed him in 2019,
Must
right?
be a year,
But
sure.
I think he signed a new
he sign a new
maybe
deal?
2-3 years in, I think. So to look at someone like Kieran, who the hell gave him that news? Listen, Kieran, like,
You're not even going to be in the programme.
you're not even got a squad.
But he's been at the
number.
training ground, hasn't he? Because I saw in the video he was talking to...
There must be something
few of the
imminent. There
players.
must be something. Maybe there is something in that Tierney thing. I
That
don't know
could
how
be.
happy
That would make
Sociedad
sense.
were.
The player's given interviews in the past where he's pretty much said that, listen, man, I'd rather stay at Sociedad. I'm pretty sure I've read that.
Well, as Turkish said, just hit yes. Football Manager, confirm the deal.
Yeah.
He's injured, right? There's no links. Just whatever, man.
Yeah, interesting. I sort of forgot about Tierney, so we'll see what happens there. Love the AJ4s, Curtis, says Mark Arthur Phillips.
Big up.
Good. What are AJ4s? I'm just beyond my
James was
shoes.
confused as hell.
They're not them ones, anyway.
You don't like my feelers?
Oh, they're not bad, but
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
if you're going for a run or you're going to do kickboxing or something...
A run or kickboxing.
I did run to the studio.
Did you run, yeah?
Yeah, I was running late. Michael says the Arsenal kits are banging this year. Ooh, I don't know if I agree.
Yeah, I'm
No,
not
you
sure,
don't, you
you know.
don't think so? What? Come on, man.
I'm a little bit...
The
I'm
more
not
I've
sure.
seen, I'm being more put off by that the day by day.
So
I
basically,
bought it.
Laurie's not...
I bought it, but it's just I look at it in my
Is it
collection.
the Links
Why
Africa
did you buy
thing,
it
or
then?
In my, I'm a collector.
Oh,
and
collector,
it's
yeah,
rare.
yeah.
Like it's gonna be one of those ones. And that third one we got. Oh my
Now that
God.
third one, I ain't going nowhere near
And people
that
are going mad about it.
I don't
Like,
like
oh,
that one.
it's all cooked.
I always feel like we should have an away kit that
Our fan
goes
bases.
in line with our actual...
And then Adidas
Colour
decided to
scheme.
put the flower logo on that rubbish. At least put that on the home kit.
Well, I was saying to
Yeah.
Lee, we had that 6-hour wait at Philadelphia Airport, and I was saying, like, we were talking about the third kit. No one was that excited about it. For me, the away kit, the third kit, do what you want.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
do whatever you want. It's fun. It'll be unique. We'll look back at it. But the away kit for me should always be. It should be yellow every 2 years. You can do different shades of yellow, but yellow is our thing. The yellow Arsenal away kit. And then you can have a white one or a navy
Or a
blue,
blue,
one,
yeah.
or you can mix it up a little bit. Maybe it'll be the old special edition, but I don't really want them messing around with them too much. It is nice, and obviously the black and gold one there 2 years ago.
This
it's
is not
nicer
a
as
patch on the black and gold one, but I do like black kits actually. So when I saw this,
Yeah,
you know,
but
I was-
wouldn't that like I would love that if that was the third kit. I don't know, just like every now and again we sort of but I like it more as a kit, like with the actual shorts and the players wearing it. I think it looks a lot better than it does as just a shirt. So why aren't you wearing the full kit? Right, let's talk forwards, but I want to just stress this as well. We've talked so much about strikers. We've talked so much about strikers and forwards. So let's just try and hash out what we think might be happening. Osimhen to PSG has stalled. It is quiet. Chelsea aren't getting him, they're getting that Omorodian guy for Atletico for 35 million. So Arsenal, one of the actual only viable options for Arsenal. Gyökeres, apparently Sporting are really sticking to their guns on the £80 million price or whatever. He's only had one season at Lisbon. Tony's about a £40 million player, maybe, if you want to go do that deal. Solanke, apparently Bournemouth wants 60 million from Tottenham. Nico Williams, I don't know what's going on with him in Barcelona. Leroy Sané is available if Bayern Munich sign other wingers. They wanted Simmons, it doesn't look like they're getting him. They wanted Doué, but it doesn't look like they're getting him. And then there's Pedro Neto that Tottenham also want. So what the hell is going on? Eddie, apparently they're back to the table, Marseille or Arsenal themselves.
Sounds like we're back to the table.
We're back at the table.
Come back with that 27 million.
Come
We'll
on,
take
Marseille.
it.
But apparently Eddie's agreed personal terms with Marseille, so they clearly want him. And then Reece Nelson, everything's gone really quiet.
Yeah.
So what the hell's going on? Someone help me make sense.
Can I just say one thing? And I've said it so many times, and I stand by this as well. I believe if we don't sign a striker, we will not win the league this season.
Striker or forward? Like,
I think we need an actual striker.
fair enough.
Because to me, I look at Trossard and Martinelli, I think on that left, I think that's enough. You can add to it, but I think Martinelli's look sharp. Trossard was outstanding yesterday. I think you could use Jesus as the backup to Saka on the right. He did well there when he played there. For me, I mean, look, Havertz is contributing, and like we were saying off camera yesterday, like when Havertz scored, it was like, yes, then it was like, oh no, we're not going to buy a striker. And then Jesus scored, and then Arteta gave this long, you see the explanation he gave, Jesus has this look in his eye, and like, we've heard this before, bro, you know what I mean? The same look from last year.
When he described Eddie as a beast in training, and then
so just
proceeded not to play him.
I just think we need a goal scorer. And like I think I saw you say, like, look, we scored 90 goals last year, so some people will be saying we don't need a striker, but I just think it's about those big moments in the big games where you need that guy who just knows where the back of the net is. But
I've said a similar. That's been my mantra. I've said it for a while. It's fine margins. Football at the top level is a relatively low-scoring game, and you need game changers, guys. Goals change games. And there was quite a few games last. What did we? I think if I had 38 games, it was 28 wins, 5 losses, and 5 draws. Those games that we didn't win, there was quite a few games. Some come noticeably to mind, like the West Ham game, Fulham game away, or was it at home? We drew that game. We had chances and we didn't take them. Now listen, people say, oh, we got Havertz up top. He did a good job last season. Yes. Towards the back end of the season, he did play well. He got 13 Premier League goals. But I think you need a 20-plus man in the team. We've not had that for a while. In fact, we've not had that since Aubameyang was at the club. So we do need a striker. Now...
You're a fan of Aubameyang.
Mate, he's got a tattoo.
Okay, forget I said that, but that is actual statistical facts.
No, you're right. You're
I know people get whatever, but that is a statistical fact. We need somebody of that ilk we can rely on to get goals. The only thing is, are Gyökeres and Tony those guys? We have to take the gamble. I'll take either of those. I would prefer Tony, but we do need a focal point up front and somebody a bit different from Havertz as well, which both those two guys are.
So let's make a prediction then. I just have this feeling that Reece Nelson doesn't impact it as much as the Eddie deal does. If Eddie goes to 25 million or whatever it ends up being, are we saying that's the trigger that Arsenal are looking for to go do business? I'm not saying we should be happy with that, but is that what we think is happening here? Do we think Eddie's... Huh?
Must be.
Yeah, it's just get that deal done and then maybe we go do
I've been a defender of Eddie, as you guys may know. But listen, man, at the end of the day, all jokes aside, all banter aside, he's not that guy. I think he's a good player. I think he's nowhere near as... poor as some of the Arsenal fan base would have you believe. But I do believe that his time has come, he needs to move on. And for the life of me, I can't see why Arsenal are playing hardball with Eddie. I think you're offering... What did Marseille offer?
€27 million, was that 22?
I think we should take it, bro.
I would have.
I think that's mutually beneficial as well. I think Eddie probably realises as well that he needs to go, kickstart his career. start playing regular football. It's mutually beneficial to recoup that money and to try and find a striker elsewhere.
I feel like the Eddie, in the last few days, I've actually started to feel like, okay, this Eddie move is going to happen. It is imminent. I've got to be honest, in the weeks before, I thought, yeah, Marseille there, let's see, I don't know, do they have the money? You know, Arsenal going to get what they want, rejecting bids, whatever. But Arteta, like, he started Jesus yesterday, and then he moved Havertz up top, and he brought Eddie on with, 20 minutes to go at best, maybe 15. You know, he didn't start the game against Liverpool. He didn't start the game against Man United.
He was captain against Bournemouth.
Started against Bournemouth, but he struggled in that
So
game.
was
didn't
Smith Rowe before he left.
Yeah, you're right.
I do think, I think Arteta is kind of making it quite clear.
Yeah, he is.
This
Yeah,
I mean,
what
look at the business end of last season, the crunch times. Eddie was barely getting minutes.
Yeah.
He was coming on with like 5 minutes. I think there was one game he came on the 88th minute. I mean, that is not a guy that the manager's trusting.
Yeah, so I guess the big question, and it's only opinion, people don't get hung up on this, it's only what we're predicting, but do we think Arsenal will bring in a forward? Thank you AFTV for clipping this up, but on socials, on Twitter, there's a quote of me saying, it's a 3 out of 10 window if we don't sign a forward. Now I know that sounds very dramatic and people go, oh, how can you be so negative? What I'm trying to say is, if we sign Calafiori, Merino and a forward, I'm thinking, you've done everything I wanted in this window. Fair play. You've added experience, you've added a left back, and you've brought in some firepower up top. I think, unless we were signing a £100 million superstar, that's about what I expected minimum for Arsenal to do. I'm happy with that. I just felt without that forward, even if those other two players are in, my opinion of it goes down massively. Not just because I think we need a forward, but because it would have been another summer where we haven't addressed it. It would have been another summer where we're relying on the same players to kind of dig us out of big moments. Another summer where Bukayo Saka doesn't have a natural backup. Vieira only proved that more yesterday. So I'd just be getting to a point where I'm like, it's not because at the one time of asking we sort of failed to add another marquee forward of some kind. It'd be because it's been like 4 summers of it. Like it's been 4 summers. We tried with Mudryk and we tried with Vlahovic. So like Arsenal clearly want to address this. Like it's not us making it. It's not us just sort of throwing our toys out the pram and going, "Oh, sign a 30 goal." If it's a winner, you've got to do something because you clearly want to.
The situation for me is further exacerbated by the fact that now that City have sold Alvarez for that amount of money as well, they're going to bring in another forward come striker. And that is going to make them even more difficult to usurp. So,
and I didn't think Alvarez played a lot for them last season. I didn't think he was that great. I actually rate him a lot as a player, but he didn't have a great season.
He wasn't, which is why they were prepared to let him go. But they've done very well in terms of what they've been able to get for him. And you best believe that they're going to spend that money.
And they paid about 15, 20 for him, didn't they? It's
great business for them.
2-year turnaround, that.
And you've got to believe, ain't you, that they're going to spend that money on bringing in someone else in.
Well, they've done very little in the market. They brought in Savio, I think.
Who is good, by the way.
Yeah.
Very good.
So they've added something to the forward line there.
I mean, this morning, I'm sure you've probably seen it yourselves, but they've been linked with Eze from Crystal Palace. So
irritatingly makes sense.
I just look at it and think the striker position has always been an issue for Arteta since he came in. You know, we signed Jesus, that hasn't quite worked. You've put Havertz up there, he did well there at the back end of last season, and then obviously Aubameyang kind of fell off there. Lacazette didn't work, so you need a specialist there. You know what I mean? You need somebody that is a natural goal scorer who just finishes those chances. So I think this player's there, but remember when we did supporters club about a year ago, me, you and Chris, you said, look, next summer, the striker, and we're there now.
Yeah.
We can't afford to have another window where you finish the season, you go, oh, we needed a striker, we'll do it next year.
I'm sick of that.
We've been talking about next year for years now. We're in a position now to win.
There's always a next time.
Yeah.
Next window will be better.
That's why people need to understand why.
Which makes you somewhat surprised that they didn't just go all out and make that their number one priority to do that. Are you guys not surprised at that? Because I am.
I think
would you not have thought that they would have said, right,
okay,
we're going to focus.
I don't think the order you sign players dictates a priority. So just because Calafiori came in first, I don't think that was the priority. I think it was just the deal they could do. I think it was just the one that they were to pull off. Merino probably true. Neither of these deal exceed 40 million. So the priority, they might have been working all summer on Osimhen and the sales it's going to take and convincing him over PSG and Chelsea. Who knows? I mean, there's so much going on in the background, I imagine. But it maybe just takes time to get it done. Or I'm completely wrong. Like I don't know. Maybe they
Also,
haven't
if I'm the
prioritised.
owner and Arteta comes to me and says, I want a big striker for big money, I'm sitting there going, well, Jesus on 200 grand a week, you paid 45 million for him. Havertz has been your striker, you paid 65 and he's on 275. And you've got Eddie on 100 grand a week. So you've got to get rid of people before you ask me for big money for a striker.
And irritatingly, that kind of just sounds fair.
It sounds fair, but not fair to me. Because I'll turn around to them and say, "Bruv, how many years did you take the piss out of us?" The same between you and Mikel. You owe the fans. That's why. Where's our money? Honestly, where's the money gone? What's our let's spend this summer? 40 mil. 40 mil. I expect to spend another 80 minimum in the next 2.5 weeks. Minimum, we should have at least 80 without player sales. That's only 120 M's.
I love this guy.
No, but where is it? All of a sudden now, everyone's an expert. PSR's coming now. Everyone, shut the fuck up. We was dealing with FFP 4 years before FFP even came in. Do you remember those years?
Yeah, I remember.
So I don't want to hear no letters combined anymore. Yeah, that restricts us. I'm done with all of that. No, I'm done. How? Like, it doesn't make sense.
With all due respect, they're probably saying the same about you, though, about PSR experts and what we can spend and all that.
Listen, I know if you need to do something. Listen, we've seen it. We're seeing it. We've seen it with many clubs. Even United. It's not just. I'm not looking at City who have bent the rules to a way where. I'm not saying bend the rules, but there's ways about. Look, Todd Bowley comes in, and I'm not saying what he's done at Chelsea is good, but he sees a loophole and he tries to take advantage of it. How comes every time there's a fucking few letters put together, we are the beacon holders of it all and we must follow it because it's class, tradition and all that? We need to win the league. We've just spent 40 million on a centre-back. Come on, man, seriously. Where is the money? Why we keep... Yes, we need to sell. I'm tired of Eddie. I'm tired of Reece. I'm tired of Fabio Vieira. Just get rid of a couple of these, but where's the money? Why is it that we have to get rid of one to bring in another? We've spent 40 mil. If we're trying to close the gap on City, on Pep Guardiola, yeah? If I told you in May, what we're going to do is sign a 40 million centre-back with 2 weeks to go in August, that's it. No one would have been happy, but now because of how it's been, and me included, I'm waiting to see how it unfolds. But what I'm confused about is there's already excuses being made about PSR. Hold on, I thought PSR meant Newcastle had to sell one of Bruno, Isak or Gordon. TikTok, passes 12. Oh, it's not true, these Twitter pricks that made it up and the world follow it. Same with what they're doing now. Oh, there's a football recession.
The pricks.
There's a football recession now. Nah, please, I'm tired of all that.
Where's the mystery German player?
Too many letters of the law,
Remember that?
There we go.
Well, that was...
Do you know what I want to see out with all that Turkish said is like deadline day. When that deadline shuts, if I see that we haven't added a forward of some kind, regardless of whether we moved on.
Who would you want?
Well, I don't know. I change
That's
my mind
out
every
there at
day.
the moment, because we do have to be realistic.
I
Who
would
do you
gamble
want?
70 million Osimhen. I would do that deal. I'd gamble.
Do you
Why
think
not?
he would be available for that cheap?
Whatever.
No, I'd gamble 80.
No, listen, I'd
He fired Napoli to the title, man. Like that was a big thing he did. Like that's not easy. I'd sooner gamble on us and roll the dice on us closing that gap to City than just going, well, we weren't sure, so let's hope our players can do it again.
Yeah.
Now, if we get 89 points for the next 5 years, I think we probably win the league one of those years. But City are here, and they haven't finished below 90 points in however long. And actually 89 2 years ago, but that was because they threw away the last 2 games. Like, I just think...
Would you take Tony?
6 hours to go of the window and nothing's happening, yes, I'd get Ivan Toney. I would. Because he might actually just get us 2 extra points. He might turn a draw into a win one day.
Would you agree with me that 40
by the way, I think he's
million
a very
for
good player.
Tony is less of a gamble than 80 odd million for Osimhen? Given that Tony is...
But when I'm saying roll the dice, like, as much as I like Tony, and maybe there isn't a massive difference, maybe, but I think there probably is, and I think Osimhen, I'd gamble on him being this superstar striker that only a year ago everyone was saying he was. So I would gamble. I'd gamble on Gyökeres. His numbers last year were incredible.
Yes.
Let's have a go. Like, we might get it wrong, but like City have got things wrong. Lots of clubs have got things wrong on route to success. Chelsea, when won 2 Champions Leagues, but they won it with Werner. Like, all of that Havertz. Like, and they spent they wasted a lot of money that year. They won the Champions League, but sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes it's worth just having a go. So I'm in this stage where I'm not in a position where if we don't sell Reece or Eddie, then I'm going, oh, I understand they couldn't move them on. No, you've got to add that player anyway. But I'm also willing to be patient to see if selling those players means they get the money they want to get the guy they really want at the end of the window. So I'm just going to see how it all plays out.
I think the interesting thing, when we was all doing like buy, sell, keep at the end of last season, we were talking about selling 10 players. We were like, he's got him. At the moment, we've only sold like Smith Rowe really on a permanent. So I'm looking at it going, well, the window closes in 3 weeks. You've got multiple players that need to be sold, and at least probably 2 or 3, because we need a midfielder and a striker. A lot of us wanted a right winger to challenge Saka. We may not get all of that, but we need at least the midfielder and the forward.
We need
in
2
my
of those
opinion.
for sure.
If Ramsdale goes, we might need a keeper. So I'm thinking Edu's got a crazy 3 weeks, and I get it. We're saying wait until the end of the window, and a lot can happen at the end. But I'm thinking the season starts next week.
I hear it, but I'm also not making excuses for Arteta in this group if we draw to Wolves and we lose at Villa. I'm not sat there going, well, we should have got our business done earlier. I'm going, you lot are good enough. Like, this group is good enough. So if you guys want to take your time to get that deal done, to get the guy you really want, and it does take you to deadline day, I'm willing to be patient on that. Yeah. If maybe those City-Tottenham games were the other side of the international break, I'd feel differently. I'd be like, okay, like,
they're
we
in
really
September,
need to get
right? Them 2 games.
Yeah,
right,
so we do have that little break.
Yeah.
But again, earlier the better. But let's see. Look, there's some final super chats. Jorge Perez says Zubimendi gives me Jesus Navas vibes, not wanting to leave Spain, but Jesus Navas did leave Spain. He went to City, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ib says Havertz will get 20 plus goals this season. If we have an on-pass season along with that, do we win the league? Question for the panel. You told Havertz to get Premier League top scorer.
I did say it to him.
Yeah, he said, yeah.
If Havertz scores 20 plus goals, we probably would win the league, because like, it would be unbelievable if
What's
he
the
scored
wording
that.
of that?
If we have an on-pass season along with that, do
So
we
if
win the
everyone plays well, Havertz can get 20 goals basically. But the point is, we need a striker that can get goals when we're not playing well as well.
I think he's saying if Havertz gets 20 plus goals and everyone else does what they're meant to do we win the league?
Oh yeah,
I actually think, yeah.
I think we probably could, yeah.
Of course we do.
Oh, there we go. There you go,
But
Carl.
him scoring 20 goals is a big if. Very big.
I was still surprised he ended last season with 13 goals, 7 assists though. Like, I was
put
actually
good numbers
fair play for what was quite an indifferent season.
Yeah.
But did end well. Roy Keane with a super chat. Obviously.
Yeah.
Saying Fulham home and away, West Ham home, Liverpool away, Villa home and away. Havertz did not play 9. Please stop waffling. The only game we dropped points was City away with him at 9. Look, yes, he didn't start as a 9 in those games. That is true.
In what game? What's the
Fulham home and away, he was in midfield.
What's he replying to though? Who's he replying to?
I think he's basically saying in those games we dropped points, Havertz wasn't playing up front. So if we play him up front, we'll get more points for those and win the league.
No, doesn't work like that.
No, I agree. I don't think it works like that either. But
what about Liverpool in the FA Cup? Didn't he play 9 in that one?
Even the Champions League knockout
Champions
games,
League,
and,
Bayern
he didn't score in those games.
So calm
Bayern
down.
Munich he did, yeah. That's a good point. No, very
He's
good
never hit 20 plus, has he?
No, I don't think so. And also, you had a striker. It doesn't mean like the end of Havertz. No one wants
this
Havertz
is what we're
ever.
saying. Yeah.
It's brilliant. All right, okay. Well, maybe they can play together. Maybe Havertz plays a little bit more in midfield if that's what Arteta so badly wants. Maybe it's Jesus actually becomes a right winger or a winger in this squad, and Havertz battles out with the number 9. It's just competition.
I specifically made the point to bring in somebody that brings something a little different to the table.
Yeah, fine.
So that if he does start and it's not quite...
Lots of goals.
No, but you know what I'm saying, in terms of their
I know.
overall play.
Yeah.
You can change the tactics and there you go.
Mr. Captain says, boys, how confident are you that we get a striker? Go on, that's the final question to round it off with a minute to go. Look at that timing. How confident are we that we get a striker? I'm going to widen it to a forward, a winger or striker, someone in that front line. How confident? Out of 10?
I reckon we'll get an attacking player. Whether it's a striker, I'm not sure. So I'd go. No, in fact, maybe not actually. I'll go 6 out of 10. We'll get an attack.
I'll go 8 because we simply have to, in my
think,
opinion.
yeah,
I think it's that strong. I think that's the deal breaker.
Fair enough.
I think more like 2, if I'm honest, because there's no links.
That confident.
Really. Who we linked to?
You're right.
There's 3 weeks left of the window.
We're that confident.
Yeah. Most of the links are just coming from us, like online. We're just like, we need a striker, but no one's doing anything about it.
What's your most shameless one so far? Striker link.
What, like a player?
Oh no, on your morning shows. Surely there's been a striker.
Do you know what I do? And Robbie does this well as well. You know when there's no link, you turn it into a question.
Right.
So you go, should we go for Victor Osimhen? There's no link, there's no source, there's no nothing.
I remember messaging you on the flight to Philly. I was like, bro, I've not seen this Rafinha link anywhere. And mate, I went to the darkest depths to find that link.
Like, somebody linked us to Rafinha. I clicked on his page. I was like, 107 followers. This don't look good, but I'm going to run with it. But the next day we were linked with him, weren't we? Remember?
Probably because of you.
All right, maybe.
Everyone thought Trent was going to Real Madrid because of you.
Oh.
Well, there you go. You don't know your own power. Yeah. This final super chat's come in. What's with the Jesus hate? He's looking great at the moment. Michael, no one's hating on Jesus. I actually think everyone here has been incredibly praising of Jesus, where there's actually been doubts from maybe other sections of the fan base or other people. I think everyone here is a massive
that from his own mouth. Jesus
Wow.
from his own mouth said that he wasn't a prolific goal. I know I'm paraphrasing, but he said that wasn't
the only
the
thing he
strength of
does.
his game. Yeah.
I think he said it wasn't the only thing he does, but yeah.
I think he went a bit further than that. I think what he was saying was that is not my main strength to my game. So, listen, we all rate Jesus. Everybody here rates Jesus, yeah?
Yeah,
what we're saying is we don't believe he's a prolific striker. Based on what we've seen in his career so far, we can only conclude that, right?
Fair enough. Let's see what Arsenal do. You said 2 out of 10. I'm going 6 out of 10. I'm with you, Curtis. I'm just above, 5 is I'm not sure either way. I'm just in that realm of like, surely this window. And the one thing that's different about previous windows is Nelson and Eddie never felt so close to leaving, even though there's still a way to go. Never.
Nah, man, Eddie felt close when he did. Do you remember before he got the 14?
Did it?
It was
I
close.
always thought he was staying.
Yeah, it was being linked heavily
I
with
couldn't
West Ham
believe we
and
gave
Palace.
him. Do you remember? I couldn't believe we done that.
Really? No, I don't know. This is the closest felt to me that he was actually going to go.
And Reece doesn't
Smith
even
Rowe
feel
was
close.
gone.
Nah, Reece, nah.
I didn't even know who he was linked to.
Actually, no, you're right. Last summer before the contract, it felt like he was probably going. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. I do think they'll probably go one or if not both, but we'll see. Anyway, everyone, hope you've enjoyed talking transfers. It's only a few more weeks of talking about strikers. Hopefully, we actually have something a bit more concrete soon. Mikel Merino, look, we just wait for updates. Of course, we'll bring them to you if we can. But Fabrizio Romano's literally said, look, it's advanced. They'll figure out structure, payment terms, whatever that means. So I guess hang tight. And to answer the question of the video, does Zubimendi impact it or ruin the deal? Probably not, but we wait and see. First, he's got to agree to Liverpool before anything actually happens there. So big thanks to Curtis. Go check out Curtis Shaw TV, as always, covering Arsenal brilliantly. Big thanks to Laurie as well. Big thanks to Turkish LDN, the Big Six. You all know, you don't need me to tell you. And everyone, I'll see you all very soon. There's a watch along this weekend and more content to come throughout the weekend next. Arsenal play Premier League football next weekend. I can't wait. Catch you in a bit.
It's the new season and I'm going to be walking to every Premier League club in London on Don Robbie's football march to raise awareness and money for Prostate Cancer UK. I'm going on the ultimate scouting mission to find out what our London rivals have got in store this season. I'll be giving my passion a football purpose by supporting one of my favourite charities, Prostate Cancer UK. Did you know that prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men? 1 in 4 black men will get prostate cancer, and that's double the risk of white men. Don Robbie's Football March is about raising funds to find better tests and treatments to save men's lives. So how can you help? Keep an eye out for the updates, share my stories about my challenge, and sponsor me to help me save men's lives. Search Don Robbie's Football March on Just Giving or check out the links in my bio. I can't wait.